Hey guys, welcome to Love, Life, and Politics, where I talk about love, life, and mostly politics. So today I'm going to start off kind of a new segment. I call it What the Heck Happened Last Month. So we know nowadays that the news typically tries to hop uh, up on a news story to be the first, getting the scoop. And because of that, typically they don't tend to have the full facts before they start releasing it, and a lot of times they have to issue retractions because they didn't let the full story go out because they're more focused on being the first to the story than getting a story right. So this segment, I'm just going to look back, which means mostly all the stories have had time to simmer and have more facts go out, so that whatever I end up talking about typically is more factual than when it was originally posted. So let's begin. I will have to give you a full forewarning. I am a conservative. So if you like it and you don't like it, I do have a little bit of a conservative bias, and I try to address that as best I can. So if you don't like that, you don't like my perspective, there's tons of other places you can go. And if you do like that perspective, hopefully I can keep it as closer to unbiased as biased as I can. But without further ado, let's start. So the first major story that kind of happened in September was Will and Grace actors want to dox, Blacklist, Beverly Hills Trump supporters. It does not go over well. So essentially, this is a story from The Blaze talking about how Will and Grace actors pretty much said, let me just go back to their tweet. Hey, THR, kindly report to everyone attending this event so the rest of us can be clear about who we won't work with. So essentially, they're wanting to find out everybody that's going to attend this little campaign for Trump, and essentially put their names out there and try their best to make sure that they never find work in Hollywood again. And why this is important is it really goes to show you how divided and how almost cynical and evil certain people are when it comes to politics, to the point that they'd rather destroy somebody's life than give them that opportunity to have a different point of view. So that one was very important because it kind of is a little bit of a foresight, or more like an insight into how some people in Hollywood feel about Trump and his supporters and what they're willing to do in order to ruin their lives, essentially. I think personally that this should not happen. I don't think anybody should ever be doxxed. I think I would, if I was a director, not care about the political leanings of the people that I employ. If they're good at what they're doing, they're good at acting, I will employ them. Now, maybe it might be a little bit different if they are using my platform and my movie in order to make their types of messages. But if not, they're doing their job. They're doing what I tell them to do. It should be none of my business who they vote for, and I should support them in this country that supports free speech and diversity of thought. Anyways, on to the next one. This one was pretty crazy. When I first heard this, I was like, I pretty much saw a soundbite. I think I was going through, it was either Instagram or YouTube of O'Rourke pretty much calling for a mandatory bag bike. He said something like, hell yeah, we'll take your guns, your AR-15s, your AK-47s, blah, blah, blah. Hell yeah, we'll take them. I'm like, good gosh, bud. I don't think you understand what country you're trying to become president of, because we really, really love our guns. Even liberals to a certain extent. And I mean, not the far left ones, but moderate liberals respect and understand the Second Amendment. They have families, they have people they want to protect. So when you start saying, hey, I'm going to take all your guns, you're really setting a very bad image for not just yourself, but the Democrat Party as a whole. And lots of people have bounced back on that, especially from his own side, because you will lose a lot. I'm talking a lot of voters if you start going after their guns. And honestly, if he's trying to be realistic, like, people like this don't think much deeper into the subject. They just try to virtue signal. Because if you actually look at it, what was it? The death toll per gun is somewhere around 30 to 40,000 per year, and the CDC actually estimates that lives saved just by like brandishing guns or using guns is anywhere from 500,000 to 2 million per year. So if you really care about lives, you would be trying to make sure that guns are still being able to be used by lawful gun owners and good citizens. And quite honestly, if you want to look at it even deeper, what is it, like 98% of shootings of innocent people happen in gun-free zone. So if I were you, I'd double check what you want to do when it comes to guns, and maybe not walk around with your own security detail if you are so strongly adamant that people should not own their guns to protect themselves. The next story is Rep. Ilan Omar, husband wants divorce after affair, bombshell source. So for many people out there who probably don't pay attention to this as much, Ilan Omar is kind of caught up in this scandal of potentially committing immigration fraud by marrying her brother on paper to get him to expedite his trip to the U.S., essentially, so that he would speed up his ability to become a U.S. Legal immigrant, get a green card. And that's been under fire a lot recently. And all of a sudden, after doing a little bit more digging, apparently Ilan was having an affair with another woman's man, and in her divorce papers or divorce filings, she wrote pure right there in front that the reason why she wants this divorce is because her man has been spending a whole lot of time and having an affair with Ilan Omar, and apparently he not even trying to hide it. He just told her that he's absolutely in love with Ilan Omar, and that this potentially might be a big issue for her because she might have been using campaign finances to fly this boy around and keep her man by her, so to speak. So that was a pretty big story that happened in September. And another one, this is probably the biggest in terms of effects of actual lives, people losing their lives, is Hurricane Dorian. I live in the Jacksonville area. Work was shut down for like 3 days, and pretty much we didn't get hit at all. We had like storm for like maybe a day, maybe a couple hours, to be honest, but we were not affected at all. But people in the Bahamas were absolutely wrecked. Had a coworker ask me like, "Hey, do you have any family over there?" Because Haitians move around a lot and are in many different places, and I didn't know. And as soon as I got home, my mom was telling me that she pretty much lost everything. And some of the struggles that they're going through right now is that it's gotten so bad that lots of people are looting. They've had to form militias in order to kind of bring a little bit more peace back, since everything is destroyed and people go chaotic. And I really think that it goes to show you how maybe not even 50-50, but like shows you the good and the bad of the humans, of us human beings, because some of us will exploit horrible things that happen to people in order to bring self-gain, like the people that are looting. And then at the same time, you have other people who are donating their money, donating their time, and trying to help out these people in need. And it's like, we really do need to try as a human race to be more like those trying to help others instead of those trying to exploit other people's difficulties for self-gain. But I know a lot of people say it, but like, lots of prayers out to the people in Bahamas, and if you can donate, find a way to do so, because words are just talk, but money really speaks. So helping out in that aspect would be a great thing to do. And then, this is not a news story, but it was hitting some mainstream media for the first time, but really starting to pay a little bit more attention to it, is why California must declare a state of emergency on homelessness or get a governor who will. So my boy Tucker Carlson, who is on Fox News, and a lot of people out there who do not like conservative leaning media will probably be like, "Oh, sound out, deuces, bro. You said you had a conservative bias, but the second you said Fox, bro, you lost me." But everybody else who kind of looks at both sides of the story, he's been pretty much touching on this for a while, and it is, I'm pretty sure, an undeniable fact that cities, especially those run by Democrats, tend to have the most homelessness. And in this story, I don't think they actually touch on it too much, but there's poop in the streets. It's so bad that there's a ton of homelessness. There's people shooting up, people shitting. There's even another story that happened this week of a guy who essentially had to shut down his business because homeless people were biting him every time he was trying to go into his work. And it just really goes to show that like the policies that these types of governance are using are not working. Just pumping money into problems and not actually trying to go after the root issues really just exacerbates the issue, and that's why lots of people are just in the streets and dying, and to the point that sometimes some stories have been saying that it's creating a breeding ground for some ancient disease like leprosy, and sometimes, or not sometimes, but potentially even the bubonic plague. So, and this is just, kind of like scientists saying, okay, with these conditions, these types of things might come back. But it's really important that people start paying attention to what's going on in these cities and these states, these blue states. And not to say that red states are perfect, but clearly one side is definitely doing a lot worse than the other, and it's kind of sad. And me, again, throwing a little bit of my conservative bias in there, I would like to say that I do not want anybody who not necessarily just comes from these states, but agrees with most of these policies that are causing all this homelessness to be running the entire country. So that's my little tidbit of conservative biasness that's like more up in your face. Another big one was New York Times. Cavanaugh back in the news. So again, if you didn't hear much about it, essentially new allegations came up against Cavanaugh, except the allegations were, I'm gonna be real honest, it's just pure BS. So apparently some secondhand source saw something happen to a girl where Cavanaugh was shoved into the chick and his dick was out. So his dick was out and he was shoved into some other chick. She didn't report it. She doesn't remember it. Her friend says she doesn't remember it. And this third person, this person that was just in the area who said he saw it, was the person that reported this. And New York Times, of course. I really do think that we've come to a point now that, and I don't really see it happening too much on the conservative side. But again, I mean, if somebody in the comment section wants to point out some instances where this has happened, because of course I do have a conservative bias, I might not be able to or not see some of the stories that might be kind of the same on the other side. But they tend to just push out stories that make conservatives and Trump look absolutely horrible without actually doing any legit legwork, and they will take their time or just not at all retract whenever the real truth comes out. You saw it with the Covington kids, and there's a couple other stories, but those other ones aren't coming to mind. But anyways, New York Times adds a correction to Cavanaugh's smear article. So essentially they had to correct it because they put the whole story in there, and they forgot to mention that the person that apparently was assaulted by Cavanaugh's wang does not remember this ever happening at all. Like, she does not recollect this at all. So the person that this happened to doesn't remember it, but somebody else that claims that they were there remembers it. Not to mention that the guy worked for Obama and did not like Cavanaugh. I mean, but those types of things are things that I would assume that reporters would look into before publishing a short story. But I mean, it's 2019. Who actually cares about facts nowadays? Anyways, you see, if I had reported this day of, you would have been like, oh shoot, Cavanaugh, blah 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 blah. But now it has been corrected, and now we know what's actually going down. And of course, the media is not talking about it anymore because the truth is out. This one is just more funny. New video services showing Trudeau in blackface, compounding scandal. And this one's from the New York Times. So another story that lots of people, a good bit of people, I'm pretty sure have seen this because this is pretty funny. Trudeau, and he is just a snowflake, cupcake, any type of cake that is unmasculine. He is the prime minister of Canada, our lovely up there neighbor, and he is just the biggest snowflake on the planet. The guy who says, please, let's not call it mankind, let's call it people kind. That guy, the most left of left individual. He really loves to flex on his leftistness. But anyways, stuff came back to bite him. He so far at this point when I'm recording this, he has had 3 separate instances of him in blackface, and I will have to give him some credit. He pretty much just came out and said, "Yep, that was me. I did that, and I regret it." While other politicians would probably have tried to find a way to deflect it or mitigate it or say that it wasn't them or this or that, he probably the most gangster I've ever seen a leftist person do is come out and just admit their mistake. Point blank, period. He was like, yep, I did it. And he left some room in there in his speech and essentially said, yeah, there might be more. He has no idea how much is out there. So, I mean, shoot, it might end at 3, it might end at 4, it might end at 15 for all we know. The guy clearly enjoys the darker skin tone type of character. So, that was pretty good too. And there's a couple of honorable mentions. PewDiePie was in the news. He said that he was going to donate $50K to, is it either the ADL or the Southern Poverty Law Center? I think it was the ADL, which is pretty much an organization that has speared him multiple times and has gone over independent commentators on YouTube a lot. They love to just attack people that don't agree with their own ideologies. And then a couple days later, after a lot of backlash, a lot of people were like, PewDiePie, you done lost your mind. He was like, I'm not giving it to y'all anymore. I'm rescinding it. And some people were saying that this was 4D chess, that he was planning on doing this all along, but that was a little bit. MSNBC claims Barron isn't Trump's son. Of course, that probably didn't get much more news attention, but of course, I mean, we paid attention to it on our side because it just goes to show how ridiculous things have become. They're now claiming that because Trump said, when he was speaking to a reporter, I think he said, Melania's son, blah, 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 when referring to Barron, and then they extrapolated that and pretty much was like, oh, shoot, this might mean that is not his son. Y'all done lost your mind. You think Trump would raise some kid that's not his? Really? Really? Especially if it might have been because she cheated on him? Y'all done lost it. Y'all are crazy. Some good news. Christian artists win appeal. The bakers, they win their appeal. So the First Amendment still holds. They do not have to bake any cakes for any messages that they do not support. So coming out cakes or trans surgery cakes or anything like that goes against their religion, they constitutionally will not be forced to do it. It's their business, it is their choice. And if you do not like that, go to a different bakery. What is your right to come to me and tell me what to do for you? I am not your slave. I have a right to my labor. I have a right to do what I want with my time and my business and my money. You can't come in here and tell me what to do. Period. Point blank. Thank you, courts. Doing what you need to do. Another honorable mention, Candace Owens completely shreds this hearing. I think it was a hearing on white supremacy affecting the black community, and she proceeds to just shred. I mean, shred. I think it was 3 other women there, all Caucasian, and she points that out. And she, Owens she's not big on trying to use the race card like to attack people, but clearly she knew that in this place it was adequate, that these 3 white people were trying to tell her what affected her community more than, like, they knew more than she did. Like, and at one point she was like, I'll tell you what I know about this subject. How about being black for 31 years of my life? And it was something along those lines, and it was just straight fire. If you have a chance and you've never seen that, please watch it. Left or right, you'll get at least a little giggle from it and be like, you know what? I would not want to debate this chick. She's bad A. Funny news, kind of ridiculous, but now the OK sign and the bowl haircut are racist. I don't think I need to say any more than that. Greta Thunberg, this is she autistic? Asperger's? She has mental illnesses. She has OCD, among other things, and now she's being trotted out for global climate change type activism, whatnot. And just to throw it in there, my boy, what is his name? From the Daily Wire. I love the guy. How do I forget his name the moment I start recording? It'll probably come to me later. Anyways, he goes on Fox News and he proceeds to say, like, he doesn't like the fact that the left is using children, especially using a mentally ill child to try to propagate and what's the word? What is the word? Oh, use as a propaganda piece for their climate change tirade, so to speak, and and the guy on the other end that was there, he's like, I'll go beat your skinny butt or some junk like that. And it was just, it's ridiculous. And of course, and this is I will never blindly support someone or something. Fox decided to be an idiot and apologize. That is not something to apologize for. We've gotten to the point where apologizing is the first thing we do instead of standing our ground. Nah, my boy stood up, said what he needed to say, and I don't think even he apologized. If he does apologize, I'm losing a little bit of respect for you, but I've definitely lost respect for Fox. We need to stop trying to apologize to people who will look for anything we say and try to make us look like bad guys. But anyways, I don't know why we're using a child to propagate things that she probably really doesn't even know about, and very hyperbolic and climate alarmist. I mean, we don't need that. Anyways, and then Adam Schiff. So this is more recent. It's actually going on right now. They're trying to start the proceedings and impeach Trump over a phone. Apparently, a whistleblower said that Trump was trying to make a quick pro quo with Ukraine because Biden had fired a prosecutor that was going to investigate his son, who was working for a major oil company in Ukraine. That's a tongue twister. That's a lot. But even Joe Biden pretty much on video bragging about what he did. And Trump was on the phone with the new person that's running Ukraine. I don't know if it's called a president or a chancellor. Who knows? And he went through a lot, congratulating him for this, that. And he was like, by the way, I've been hearing a whole lot of talk about Biden and what he did with his son. Would you look into that for me? Like, no quick pro quo, no saying that he's gonna hold money from, no threats, no promise of doing anything. He was just like kind of offhandedly mentioned that, and then proceeded to talk about everything else that he was talking about. And now the Democrats are essentially hopping on his D word, his dick. I don't know if dick is a bad word. I don't know the YouTube policies. Pretty much hopping on his dick, trying to impeach him over it, because they couldn't impeach him over all the other things that they said that they could have impeached him over. But I mean, who's really paying attention? Anyways, Adam Schiff goes on and essentially says he makes up a bunch of words and tries to say that it was a parody. He was trying to make kind of a parody, kind of a joke of what Trump was trying to say, and it was literally night and day versus what Trump actually said. He was like, I'm going to tell you no less than 7 times, I want you to dig up dirt. I want you to dig up a lot of dirt on Biden, blah, 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 blah. And you know what? Even the people on his side had to completely roast his behind for pretty much lying to the American people. And it's not until afterwards, and he was called out, that he was like, oh, no, it was just a parody, bro. Like, I wasn't, bro. No, stop, bro. I didn't mean it like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Of course, a lot of other things happened this September, but these are all the things that I found the most interesting. I'll have all the sources and the links below if you want to do some more research for yourself. And I always encourage people to not only look at my sources, but look at other sources, so that whenever you get in discussions, or whenever you're trying to make your own decision about what you want to do in the political spectrum, that you look at all your sources to make a very informed decision. Don't ever look at just one place. Look at multiple places. If I were to recommend anybody, I'm a very big advocate of my boy Tim Pool, and also Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro. Those are my big 3. And if I were to put them in order, it would go Steven Crowder, Louder with Crowder. Please check them out. They're awesome. YouTube trying to take them down. Show them as much support as you can. And then the guy who actually really got me into the conservative movement, Ben Shapiro, and then Tim Pool. Tim Pool is more left than center, I think, than he thinks, but he's a center-left guy, and he is probably where I get most of my news from. He tries to put it like it is, and in terms of finding somebody who has a different perspective, if you're conservative, I really, really, really recommend you check him out. The guy tries to show it as it is. He explains his biases. He's upfront about all the things he's trying to say, and he tries to, be middle, be honest about what he's trying to show. So if you want to show anybody some support, I would support all 3 of them. Lord, go check them out. And yeah, that's what happened this September. So if you like this, Please like, share, and subscribe. If there's anything you want me to, do a little bit more research on, or you just want me to talk about, because I don't, just stick on politics, even though that's my favorite thing to talk about. But whatever topics, I do enjoy just pretty much talking. So thank you again, and I'll catch you on the next one.